It's official!
Hi, welcome to this week's episode of Legally Unapologetic. I am your host, Octavia Green. Now guys, this week is a special week. Not only is it June 20th, but it's also my birthday. So we won't have any special guests this week, and I hope that's okay with you all. You just get little on me. I am so excited to spend my birthday with you all. And in this episode, I want to reflect on year 33 as I go into year 34. So today I will be talking about the lessons that I learned during my sabbatical. Now at the beginning of this series, you all, I told you that I up and quit my job. I don't think that that's any secret at this point. And those that know me closely, you've seen me throughout this transition. So what does that look like? My sabbatical was 7 months within my 33rd year. And before I even got to the sabbatical, I think back to this time last year. On the surface, everything seemed fine. And I have to be real with you guys. I had a lot of people fooled. I think I even had myself fooled. I couldn't necessarily be honest about some of the things that I was enduring, some of the things that were happening around me. And as a result, I faked it. I really did. I tried to convince myself that if I kept pushing, if I kept going in the direction in which I was going, I would be okay. Reality of the situation, guys, I was not okay. Now, I remember my 33rd birthday, I said that this was Jesus' year. I had heard from a lot of my friends and colleagues that this was the year in which they became into their own. They found their purpose and they felt like they really got into a groove. So I wanted to be intentional about year 33. Now for you guys that follow me personally, you saw the photos, you saw the fancy photo shoot, and I was really being intentional about celebrating myself and uplifting myself. And yeah, the photos were beautiful. Shout out to Swish and all of my glam team that got me ready for that. But let's be real. A picture is worth 1,000 words. And although I was smiling and I looked happy, I had money, I was able to take care of myself, I was striving in my career. Hell, I could even say I was having great sex. But I wasn't even nearly as happy mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. And I needed to do some work. Now the word for year 33 for me was abundance. I had prayed that this was the year in which God positioned me to receive any and everything that was owed to me. And I wanted it all, guys. Just like most of you, I'm sure. What I realized is sometimes in order to receive and before we could receive, things have to change. And that scared the hell out of me. I'll be real, because some things were out of my control. It's like as soon as I hit 33, this prayer of abundance, God was working, but he was also removing things and shifting things and making me feel uncomfortable in ways. And I fought it. I'll be real with you. I fought it because I felt like, okay, hold up. I didn't say, remove my job. I didn't say, put me in this position. I didn't say remove this person or any of that. But sometimes in order to truly receive what is meant for you and what's going to be for you, some things have to be removed. So that was a hard lesson that I learned this last year. I had to really trust myself, which was another lesson, but trust that things were going to work out the way that it was meant to work out. And even in those moments where I didn't necessarily have the answers or fully understood what was going on, I had to not only trust that things were going to work out how they were supposed to, but also trust myself. Now, at the beginning of this series, I told you all, a couple of days after my 33rd birthday, I made the decision that I was going to leave my job. Shout out to, my bosses and my managers. They gave me an extra cushion of about 2.5 months because they just didn't want me to walk out, right? It's like, okay, I don't want you to just leave without really landing and trying to figure out what it is that you want to do. So I took the 2 months, and let's be real, I think I took a month, and I really sat back and I was like, okay, I personally did not know what I wanted to do. I didn't necessarily know where I was going in my professional or my personal life. So instead of taking on a job out of fear that, okay, my bills need to be paid, I decided that I was going to really take some much needed time for myself. Now, at that time, I didn't know how long I would be out of work. At that time, I didn't even know where I would end up, right? But I knew that I was going to take the time to reflect on what had happened and what had transpired and got me to this point, but also what I needed to change moving forward. Too often in this profession, we get into the flow, the ups and flows of practicing law. And I think that it is easy to lose sight of what it is you want, whether that is in your personal life or your professional life, because too often we don't have time to think about anything else. So time was going to be something that I personally focused on during my sabbatical and in my 33rd year. Realizing that I am getting older, I don't have a lot of time. I don't have a lot of time to waste. Time is precious and it should be used wisely. And I wanted to spend my time not necessarily feeling a certain type of way about any situation or being uncomfortable or being unhappy. I wanted to spend my time with people that I enjoy being around. My friends, my family, guys that I date, whoever it may be. I wanted to spend my time really fully investing in myself, investing and pouring into others that mean something to me, but also doing something that I love. And I also want to spend my time making precious memories in this life because guess what? Time is something that I don't get back. So during my sabbatical, I traveled. I saw different cities. I spent time with friends that I may not get to see that often or didn't get to see that often because of work or busy life schedules. Last December, I was able to go to the mountains with my family. Every year after Thanksgiving, you all, they take this week-long vacation to the mountains in Massanutten. Now, granted, we can't ski because the snow's not falling at that time, but we have several houses. It's a group of us. And every night we do themed dinners and, we play games until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, or, we do activities on the resort, whatever it may be. But up until last year, I personally did not have that time because I needed to rush back to work, or I needed to prepare for a deposition, or I needed to prepare for whatever it was. There had been times where I had gone to Massanutten, but maybe I stayed a night or two because I needed to be back in DC to catch a flight to make it back to Atlanta or Miami or wherever I was living at the time. December was an awesome moment because this was the first time that I had been able to stay for the entire week. And when you think about your loved ones and you think about these memories, this is what matters. I have elderly aunts and uncles who did beat us in bowling, by the way. But, these are moments and memories for them. And just to be able to take part in Taco Tuesday or sip wine with my grand aunt, or, go out and bowl as a group and compete on that level, or teach somebody to play dominoes. Time. Too often we don't take it seriously, or we take it for granted. During my sabbatical and moving forward, I didn't want to do that. So investing the time, not only in what I do professionally, because that is important. This is a professional podcast, so I'm not saying don't invest that time in your professional development or things that you have going on. What I am saying is invest that time not only solely in your professional realm, but also in your personal life. Invest the time in the people that are pouring into you. And sometimes, yes, that's the personal and the professional. Time is not something we get back. And I needed to be more mindful of that. And that was something that I took away during my sabbatical. I also had to learn a very valuable lesson, knowing that quitting does not necessarily mean that you failed. Life is going to be full of ups and downs, and we all know this. For me, I'm a perfectionist, like most people, especially in this profession. And the idea of not being able to accomplish something that you set out to do, or the idea of something happening in your life that derails your progress or your journey, can be disheartening at times. Now, as much as I enjoyed the 7 months off, don't get me wrong, there was an initial period where I was down. I was, a little sad about the transition. I was worried about my transition. I feared that, holy shit, what did I do, right? Especially because I am the quote unquote independent woman, and I don't have a lot of people to rely on, especially as it pertains to financial well-being and responsibilities, or things that we have to pay for in order to live. So I literally had to learn to let go of the stress, but I also had to let go of the doubt, right? Sometimes when life presents us with a toss-up and ultimately our paths change, doesn't necessarily mean that we failed in a particular realm. It just means that we are pivoting. That's real. Having to accept the fact that, no, I'm not going to be a law firm partner. Hell, I might not even be an associate in a law firm ever again. It doesn't necessarily mean that I failed in that space. It just means that I'm pivoting to a position that's a little bit more conducive to how I wanted to live. Again, loved what I did. To this day, as a litigator, I still love to pick a good argument. You can ask anybody that knows me. But I also know that there's more to life than just work. And guys, I was working a lot. 12, 14-hour days consecutively over a time period of 7 years. That's a long time. And ultimately, it builds up. And I just spoke to you guys about time and realizing that you don't have forever. So part of my decision was also taking a step back to realize, okay, what is it that I want in my life outside of the profession, right? Outside of the accolades, outside of the title lawyer. What is it that I want to do with my life? Does that include a family? Does that include a husband? Does that include fitness goals? Does that include more travel? Whatever it may be, right? I wanted to find something that allowed me to do just that. And sometimes that means pivoting, right? After my sabbatical, I'm now in a space where it's ironic, right? I always wanted to be an IP attorney. I think anybody that knew me in law school would tell you that. It's kind of crazy how things come back around when the time is right. And now I'm in a great position to become a very skilled attorney in the trademark space. And I'm thankful for the opportunity, but I also know that it's an opportunity that would have missed me, but for me taking that moment to step back and really think about, okay, what is it that I want to do? So quitting doesn't necessarily mean that you failed. It just means that you're pivoting into something that's more conducive. Pivoting also allowed me to start this podcast, which is very, very dear to my heart. Ironically, I was looking back at my initial text messages with a friend when I told him that I wanted to start this podcast. And I think at first it was called Unapologetically, right? We were still working on the name, but I told him the concept and I knew it was something that I wanted to start, but it was like, okay, when would I have the time? I knew it was something that was needed, especially in this space being a Black woman professional. Hell, being Black in the law, period. So this sabbatical allowed me to tap into different things and learn different skill sets and explore different things that I love. I'll be real with y'all. When I said I was going to start a podcast, I thought I would be getting a mic, setting up with a cool background and just talking. But nobody knows until you're really in it what goes on in the background, right? We are producing, we are recording, we are directing. Every time I have guests on, I'm actually having to do the research, figure out the topics, and then, kind of guide them through my conversation, but then taking those bits and pieces and then creating a product that's digestible to you guys. And it's not perfect. I'm still learning, but I'm fortunate that I had the time to actually focus in on something that I'm passionate about, that I love. Who knows? This may be my purpose. And if I can continue to create great content for the greater good, then I'm good. The next lesson, it's okay to start over. Now, I just told y'all that I always wanted to be an IP attorney. I didn't expect it to happen 8 years in my career, but we're here. And, I'm thankful and fortunate for my prior experiences because I do think that it prepared me for this new experience. But I'm also realizing that in life, it's okay to have a do-over. It's amazing, actually. So I will challenge you. I don't necessarily know what you have going on, but if there's a new venture that you want to tap into, if there's a new interest, if there's a new goal that you want to set, do it. I spoke to a young lady 2 weeks ago at a networking event, and I remember we were talking about she wanted to go to law school, but she was worried about whether this would be the time for her to do it because she felt like she would be a little older than her classmates. No, sis, do it. It is never too late to start over. And lastly, I think this was one of my favorite lessons. Be yourself unapologetically. Even with this podcast, I had to wrestle with, okay, am I going to show y'all who OMG really is, or am I still going to put on a face? And Legally Unapologetic was birthed from the idea that I should be able to be myself unapologetically, and I truly believe that. Now, of course, you do have to have some class and some coof about yourself, but I don't think you should ever shy away from who you are, what you love, and the things that make you you. That's your story. And if you guys haven't picked up, every single guest that have stepped on this stage with me, they have a unique story. And I'm providing spaces for them to come and share it because guess what? That's what makes them them. It's not the degree on the wall. It's not the GPA. It's not the LSAT score. It's not, the bar. I don't even know what I scored on the bar. It just said pass. Cool. Whatever. Moving on. It's not how many awards that you have on your shelf. It's honestly the everyday experiences and challenges that we face, how we respond to it, and how life, and sometimes it's many challenges and obstacles, but also the successes that we experience in life, how that shapes us as humans and how that allows us to continue to walk in our purpose and our power. So the last lesson that I have learned this year: be yourself unapologetically. Now, I am excited. This has been a growth year for sure. And I'm still evolving, y'all. I think we all are, right? That's called evolution. I don't think any of us will ever get to a point where, we trail off. I think we're going to constantly evolve as humans, and we should, right? That's growth. And that's part of the human experience. So I wanted to tap in with y'all. Again, I am so thankful for the support that I have received from Legally Unapologetic thus far. I want to continue to create great content. I want to continue to serve as a voice and an advocate, but I also want to serve as a great example. We are all amazing, beautiful human beings. And I truly, truly hope that each and every one of my listeners and my viewers know that. You could be a kick-ass attorney in the courtroom, boardroom, corporate setting, or whatever. But never, ever, ever forget who you are here. And never, ever, ever be silenced and or allow this person here, and I'm pointing to my heart for the listeners, to not shine through. So thank y'all so much for the continued support. We're going to keep rocking, I promise. I'm still bringing you guys great content, still have some amazing guests lined up, and we're already plotting on season 2. But again, thank y'all for tuning in to this episode of Legally Unapologetic. I am so happy that I was able to share my birthday with you all. This is a shorter episode, but again, I just wanted to, step in, reflect, right? Reflect and share it, but also kind of plan and have the foresight of where we're going. Truly believe that before you can get to where you are supposed to go and supposed to be, sometimes you have to look back and kind of see where you've been. Can't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. So that's my positive word. Thank y'all again for tapping in. Glad that I got to share my birthday with y'all. If y'all have not followed on social media, please do that. Legally Unapologetic, one word. And we're going to continue rocking. So appreciate y'all. Until next time. Peace.